All right, in this example, we have an equation, looks a little bit different than example that we had in previous videos. So, but by now you should have a better view of trigonometric equation. We have a domain, 0 to 2 pi, that means between only one revolution. We are looking for all the x's. When you plug it there, the value will be 0. The value will be 2 times sine square of that minus sine of that angle minus 1 equal to 0. So this degree 2 tells us that it would be a good idea to look at this as a quadratic equation. For example, if we had 2a squared minus a minus 1 equal to 0, how do we solve this one? This is quadratic. We learned few techniques to solve the quadratic equation. One of them was factoring. Another one was quadratic formula. So the good news is we can apply the same thing for this type of equation. If you factor it, it will be 2a plus 1a minus 1. So it's very important that in order to solve the trigonometric equation, at the beginning, it would be good to spend a few minutes to see what do we have, what techniques we can apply. So the only way we can solve this one is you applying quadratic technique. So I'm going to factor it. Factoring this, we're going to open two parentheses. We have 2 sine of x plus 1 and sine of x minus 1. That means if you multiply this, you will get this one back. So we didn't do anything wrong. We just factored it. Now we have two parentheses. When you multiply them, you get 0. That means first parenthesis should be 0, or the second parenthesis must be 0. If the first one is 0, we have sine of x equal to negative 1/2. By subtracting 1 from both sides and dividing by 2, we get sine of x equal to negative 1/2. And adding 1 to both sides, we get sine of x equal to 1. So we got two simple trigonometric equations. Please don't think that you are done. No, we are looking for x. We have sine of x. So let's bring this guy here to see how do we deal with the x. We have sine of x equal to negative 1/2. When you look at the unit circle, negative 1/2 for sine is here, also is here. So at 4 pi over 3, negative 1/2 at 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6, we have sine of that is negative 1/2. So let's go back to our equation. So this x should be 7 pi over 6. So x going to be 7 pi over 6 or 11 pi over 6. So we got two solutions. I'm not going to add 2 pi k because we only have a single x here. If here we had double x or something else beside x, you will use 2 pi k. Also, we add 2 pi k if we didn't have this domain. Now let's solve this guy. Now sine of x equal to 1. Sine of x equal to 1 at, if you look at the unit circle, it's 1 at pi half. So x going to be pi half. So we got three solutions for this equation. All right, let's have another example. Solve 2 sine square of x plus 3 cosine of x minus 3 equal to 0. So we have degree 2. If you don't see it. So we have degree 2. So we would try to use the quadratic technique, but we have sine and cosine. So we cannot just apply that because in previous question we have both of them were sine. So for question like this, we need to make everything in one term. We should make everything in sine or everything in cosine. So instead of sine squared, I can put 1 minus cosine square of x. Where is this coming from? From the first identity. We know sine square of x plus cosine square of x equal to 1. Then if you solve for sine square of x, will be 1 minus cosine square of x. So instead of sine square of x, I will plug 1 minus cosine square. Now multiply by 2 plus 3 cosine of x minus 3 equal to 0. Let's simplify this. So 2 times this, we gonna get 2 minus 2 cosine square of x plus 3 cosine of x minus 3 equal to 0. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. We have 3 cosine of x minus 2 cosine square of x. So now we have degree 2 and we can apply quadratic. I'm going to multiply everything by negative 1 to get rid of this negative. So we have 2 cosine square of x minus 3 cosine of x plus 1 equal to 0. Hopefully we can factor this. Yes, we can factor it to 2 cosine of x minus 1 and cosine of x minus 1 equal to 0. This means the first parenthesis must be 0 and the second parenthesis must be 0. We have two cosine of x minus 1 equal to 0 or cosine of x minus 1 equal to 0. Here we get cosine of x equal to 1/2 or cosine of x equal to 1. So you look at the unit circle, you will find x equal to pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3, that cosine of that is 1/2, and cosine of x equal to 1 at x equal to 0 or 2 pi. It depends what's the domain. Well, we don't have a domain here. If the domain said bracket 0 and 2 pi, then we will not accept 2 pi, only we accept 0, because the domain said bracket 0 and 2 pi. So we got 3 solutions. All right. So you know as much as I know to solve trigonometric equations. Some of them are, I'm not going to say complicated, but you need to have practice. I'm going to add more, or if you guys ask me to solve, then I will make a video and solve it. Thanks.